First story, all right. Let's dive in and expand on the story. Here we go. So, picture this. I finally mustered up the courage to ask out my longtime crush, Kate. It was one of those heart-pounding, sweaty palm moments you see in movies. We decided to keep it casual and grab some coffee together. Little did I know that one coffee date would snowball into a whirlwind of three amazing dates, each one better than the last. It was like the universe was giving me a high five for finally making a move. And then, boom, we decided to make it official. We became a couple, and for the next 7 months, it felt like I was living in a dream. We were like two peas in a pod, you know? We hardly ever argued, and when we did, it was more like playful banter than anything serious. We were so open with each other, even when it came to the more intimate moments. Let me tell you, our chemistry was electric. And on top of all that, we both had good jobs. So we could spoil each other rotten without worrying about breaking the bank. But hold on to your hat because things took a wild turn in January 2017. I got accepted into my country's Armed Forces Reserve program as a combat engineer. Now, I've faced some challenges in my life, but nothing could have prepared me for basic training. It was like stepping into a whole new world of pain and struggle. There were moments when I seriously doubted whether I had what it takes to make it through. But you know what kept me going? Kate. She was my rock, my cheerleader, my everything. Her words of encouragement through texts and calls were like a lifeline, pulling me through the toughest of times. And let me tell you, basic training was no walk in the park. It was tough as nails, and there were times when I felt like throwing in the towel. But Kate's unwavering belief in me kept me pushing forward. She was right there by my side when I finally received my BTC certificate, beaming with pride like a proud mama bear. She made sure I knew just how proud she was of me. That meant the world to me. But wait, it doesn't stop there. As part of my gig in the reserves, I had to bounce for advanced training during the summer. It was no picnic. Running from early June all the way to late August, it felt like an eternity. And to make matters worse, I felt like a total outcast among the different cliques that formed during our course. I was the butt of endless jokes, and my self-esteem took a serious nosedive. But you know what kept me going? You guessed it, Kate. She had my back the whole way, even if it meant sacrificing most of our summer break. She understood just how important it was for my military career to level up. And that summer was rough. But with Kate by my side, I managed to push through, against all odds. In the end, I even managed to pass as the fifth best on the course. And I owe every bit of that success to her unwavering support and belief in me. But here's where things take a turn for the worse. Once we returned home, our relationship started to unravel at the seams. According to Kate, I had lost my spontaneity and outgoing nature compared to before I went away. I became dismissive, took harmless jokes as personal insults, and preferred staying and watching movies and seeking closeness rather than going out. Little did we know, the summer had left me with some serious social anxiety, and it started taking a toll on our relationship. As we approached our 2-year anniversary in 2018, we got into a heated argument over a minor misunderstanding, which ultimately led to our breakup. I was devastated by the breakup, but then she texted me 3 days later expressing her desire to work things out. We didn't see each other for 3 weeks, but we stayed in constant communication, slowly trying to repair the damage. However, when we officially got back together, something felt off. Every conversation with her felt like walking on eggshells, and it only worsened my anxiety, further damaging our already fragile relationship. Finally, everything came to a head at the end of July. Back when Kate was still in school, she crossed paths with this guy named John. Turns out she saw in John what she used to see in me, and they hit it off and became really tight friends. He became her shoulder to lean on during our breakup, and whenever I messed up afterward. Just so you know, I was aware of John's existence, but I never thought Kate would ever do anything with him. So, one evening after work, we had made plans for me to crash at Kate's place. When I got there, I walked in on the two of them, hanging out on the couch in the living room. Kate explained that John had dropped by for a spontaneous visit, and he was on his way out. But things changed after John left. She suddenly turned distant and cold. It hit me slowly that our relationship was on life support, and I mustered up the courage to ask her how things were between us. It turns out she felt the same way, and we agreed to call it quits. The next day, she did let me stay the night one last time. though, since it was late, and she still had some concern for me. From that point on, Kate became unusually attached to her phone and super protective of it. Until she fell asleep, she would constantly check it, and if I happened to glance at the screen, she would quickly hide it. I confronted her about it, and she brushed it off as private stuff, which only made me more suspicious. Once she dozed off, curiosity got the best of me, and I couldn't resist unlocking her phone. I knew her passcode, and what I found shook me to the core. There were hundreds of messages between her and John, talking about how she was single now, how thrilling it was that they could finally be a public couple, and worst of all, they were mocking me for every little thing I did. Turns out, my crying wasn't as discreet as I thought. Kate woke up and caught me in the act. She lost it and threw a fit. I was too stunned and overwhelmed to muster any anger or find the right words to fight back, so I just gathered my belongings and walked out, with Kate yelling and shouting at me the whole time. It was the early hours of the morning when I finally made it home. I completely broke down and ugly cried throughout the night. The next day, I called in sick to work and spent the entire day wallowing in my bed. The day after that chaotic night, my phone blew up with angry texts from Kate's friends and family. In a desperate attempt to protect her own reputation and discredit anything I might say about her, she went around telling everyone she knew that I had forced myself on her that night. According to her twisted version of events, I supposedly tried to get some one last time before we broke up, and once I got what I wanted, I hightailed it out of there. She painted me as some kind of villain, claiming that what I did to her was traumatizing. But she conveniently decided not to press charges, because she didn't want her life to turn into a courtroom spectacle. She saw herself as the bigger person for choosing not to pursue legal action. I spent the following months living in fear, constantly worried that her false accusation would lead to my discharge from the Army and forever tarnish my reputation. But nothing ever came of it. It was all smoke and mirrors. About 5 months later, Kate slid into my DMs. After exchanging some polite words, she essentially apologized for the whole mess and actually confessed to faking everything. However, she made it clear that she would never admit it publicly because she cared more about protecting her own reputation than my image. I was furious, but I kept my cool. I took screenshots of our conversation as evidence and kept engaging with her over the next 3 months. She fell into this predictable cycle of behavior. She would complain about her current life situation, usually involving John messing up in their relationship in some way, and would seek my advice. She would start reminiscing about our past relationship, saying how I never messed up like John did and expressing a desire to go back to the way things were, and so on. Then she would suddenly ignore me because John finally pulled his head out of his you-know-what, did some grand romantic gesture, and saved their relationship. Shortly after, she would embark on a smear campaign on social media about our relationship. She would enlist the help of her friends, fully aware that I would see it all, in an attempt to provoke me into an argument. It worked. She would try to twist the argument around and make me out to be the bad guy. Then she would proceed to block me for about a month, only to repeat the whole cycle all over again. This happened 3 times, like clockwork, and it always left me feeling completely drained and shattered. Yet, there was a part of me that oddly desired it to occur each time it happened. I made sure to capture screenshots of every incriminating thing she said. I ended up with a full secured digital card filled with all the evidence I'd compiled. And that's when I knew it was time to take action. I made multiple copies of the most awful text messages I'd captured. Then I went ahead and bought several manila envelopes. I mailed them out to everyone who I believed mattered to Kate, her parents, grandparents, close extended family, best friends, her boss at work, QO workers, and even her teachers. I tracked down any mailing address I could find. It was important to me that anyone receiving those envelopes knew that the text contained conversations between Kate and me. With that in mind, I sealed the envelopes and sent them on their way. In just 3 weeks, I started seeing some results. The same people who had previously messaged me with shameful insults were now reaching out to apologize. One of my favorite apologies came from Kate's own parents. They expressed their sincere regrets about their daughter's behavior and acknowledged that they had raised her to be better than how she had acted. They pleaded with me not to pursue any legal actions. Although I had briefly considered it, I didn't have the financial resources or the emotional strength to engage in a legal battle. I told them I would take their request into consideration and assured them that they would be the first to know, along with Kate, if I decided to proceed with any legal action. I received some texts from Kate too. She said things like, "How could you betray my trust? And you ruined my life, you bastard." Instead of replying, I simply read every angry message that came in, feeling a sense of satisfaction once the messages stopped. I went ahead and blocked her. I never really got the complete picture of how much my revenge affected her life, but I do know that she ended up dropping out of school and losing her job. I wonder if John was really worth it for her. Second story, all right, buckle up, folks, because we're about to dive deeper into this whirlwind of a tale. So here I am, a seasoned 46-year-old, clocking in over 2 decades of marriage with 2 strapping lads in tow, a 20-year-old and a 16-year-old. And you know what? Life's been chugging along fairly smoothly, with the occasional hiccup here and there, as is the norm with any long-term relationship. But let me tell you, this year's been different. Picture this, it's March, and suddenly, the missus decides to hop back on the pill after a hiatus of a few years. Now, she spins me this yarn about it being for those pesky menopause symptoms, but honestly, I ain't seen her breaking a sweat over hot flashes or mood swings. And then there's the whole lingerie saga. Suddenly, she's splurging on the fancy stuff. Sure, I've recently landed myself a cushy new job with a heftier paycheck, so maybe she's just treating herself, right? But it doesn't end there. Nope, she's been pulling these disappearing acts, sneaking out without a word of explanation. Now, each of these things on its own might not set off alarm bells, but string them together, and you've got yourself a mystery brewing. Fast forward to a couple of weeks back. She waltzes in one day, looking all jittery, and drops the bombshell. She wants to hit up this concert, and guess what? She's got a buddy to go with. But hold your horses, folks, 'cause it ain't just any buddy, it's a guy. Now, call me old-fashioned, but that raised an eyebrow or two. So I do the husbandly thing and play it cool, tell her to have a blast. But deep down, I'm burning with questions. Who's this mystery guy? What's their deal? They go to the concert, snap a few pics for the gram, nothing too suspicious, right? Wrong. I start digging, and it doesn't take a detective to connect the dots. Turns out, they've been pounding the pavement together, going on these runs for weeks. Same time, same route, you name it. And to top it all off, this fella's got the audacity to mock me on Facebook. Can you believe the nerve? So, armed with this newfound knowledge, I start plotting my next move. Then, lo and behold, fate hands me an opportunity to snoop through the missus's phone. Now, I've never been one to pry, but desperate times call for desperate measures. And let me tell you, what I find on there ain't pretty. 6 months worth of steamy messages, videos, the whole shebang, between her and running buddy Gary. Now, ordinarily, I'm as cool as a cucumber, but this hits me like a ton of bricks. I'm stunned, overwhelmed with a whirlwind of emotions, but I keep it together. We talk it out for a few days, but she's showing about as much remorse as a rock. She's all feelings for Gary this, Gary that. Talk about a kick in the gut. So, we start discussing the big D word, but we gotta put it on hold because one of the boys is knee-deep in some critical school stuff. Can't rock the boat just yet, you know? So, we put on our best poker faces, pretending everything's hunky-dory until the time is right. But folks, it's like walking on eggshells. One wrong move, and the whole house of cards comes crashing down. Then, one day, I'm out for a stroll, and I find myself standing in front of Gary's place. Next thing you know, we're throwing fists like it's nobody's business. Now, this ain't my usual style. I've never been one for a brawl. But there I am, duking it out with Gary, wondering how the heck I ended up in this mess. And you know what? We don't even get the cops involved, because I hit him with a little ultimatum about airing our dirty laundry on social media. So, here we are, a week later, still putting on a brave face for the world. But inside, I'm a raging inferno of anger and frustration. I'm making plans to put an end to this decades-long marriage once we break the news to the boys. It ain't gonna be easy. There's a part of me that wants to get back at Gary, make him feel even a fraction of the pain he's caused me. But I know that ain't the way to go. Still, I'd be lying if I said it didn't feel good to let out some of that pent-up rage. And here's the kicker, folks. I know every sordid detail of their affair, because they were dumb enough to keep it all in writing. Their little love notes, their rendezvous spots, you name it, I've got the receipts. So that's the situation, folks. Life throws you a curveball. and you gotta figure out how to swing. I'm standing at the plate, bat in hand, ready to take my shot. It's gonna be a rough ride, but hey, I'm strapped in and ready for whatever comes my way. Third story, all right. Let's buckle up for the long haul. This is gonna be a wild ride. So there I am, 28 years young, cruising through life with my girl, who's 25. We've been together for nearly 2 years, and everything's been smooth sailing. Until it wasn't. Picture this, she drops the bombshell. She's pregnant. Now, hold up. I've always been careful, you know. Condoms, double checking, the whole shebang. And she's supposed to be on birth control, but doubts start creeping in. We hit up this appointment, fingers crossed, hoping it's just a scare. But nope, the tests don't lie. We're having a baby. And you know what? Despite the shock, I'm kind of thrilled. Always dreamed of being a dad, you know. So we jump into action, prepping for parenthood. First trimester rolls by, and she's all about moving in together. Seems like a logical step, right? Except, looking back, I should have seen it. Total red flag waving right in front of my face. We're making plans, attending prenatal appointments, life's good. But then, bam, third trimester hits. One day, she kicks me out of the doc's office while she has a chat. Panic mode activated. I'm thinking the worst. Turns out, everything's fine. But when I bring up feeling sidelined, she brushes it off like it's no biggie. Another red flag? Check. Fast forward, the baby arrives. Pure magic, man. But then they hit me with it. Put my name on the birth certificate. She's pushing hard, like really hard. My gut screaming something's off, so I put my foot down. Cue the argument. Eventually, she eases off, but I'm on high alert now. Back home, she's busy with the baby, phone left unattended. Temptation kicks in, and I sneak a peek. Lo and behold, secret conversations with some dude on Kick. They're chatting about appointments, sharing baby pics, and then she drops the bomb that the kid might not be mine. Talk about a gut punch. I confront her, and she admits there's a possibility. Demand a paternity test, and then I'm out of there. A week later, results confirm the baby ain't mine. She's packed up and living with her mom. And guess who the real dad is? Her married boss with a whole team of kids already. Yeah, you heard that right. I track down his wife, spill the beans. Karma comes knocking, hard. He loses his job, and his wife reaches out, apologizing for the chaos. She kicks him out, but nobody knows where he's gone. Kids know, colleagues know, probably the whole town knows by now. Meanwhile, I'm left picking up the pieces, heartbroken beyond belief. Holidays? They're gonna be a struggle. But hey, I'll push through. This whole mess? It's changed me, man. Trust? Shot to bits. Relationships? I'm swearing them off for good. But wait, there's more. Let's delve deeper into the aftermath of this whole ordeal. The days drag on, each one feeling heavier than the last. I'm left grappling with a whirlwind of emotions, anger, betrayal, sadness. It's like I'm stuck in this endless loop of trying to make sense of it all. The nights are the worst. Sleep eludes me, my mind racing with questions that have no answers. How could she do this to me? Was our entire relationship a lie? And what about the baby? The thought of not being a father to the child I thought was mine. It's a pain that cuts deep. But amidst the chaos, there's a glimmer of hope. I find solace in the support of friends and family, their unwavering presence a reminder that I'm not alone in this mess. Slowly but surely, I start to pick myself up, piece by shattered piece. And then there's the matter of closure. I find myself grappling with the need to confront her, to demand answers to the questions that have been haunting me since the day she dropped the bombshell. But part of me wonders, is closure even possible in a situation like this? In the end, I decide to let go, to release myself from the chains of anger and resentment that have been weighing me down. It's not easy, but I know it's the only way forward. And as I take those tentative steps towards healing, I can't help but feel a sense of liberation wash over me. Life goes on, as it always does. The days turn into weeks, the weeks into months. And slowly but surely, the pain begins to fade. I find joy in the simple things, in the laughter of friends, in the warmth of the sun on my skin. But the scars remain, a reminder of the storm I weathered and the strength I found in the midst of it all. And as I look towards the future, I know that I am stronger than I ever thought possible, ready to face whatever challenges come my way, armed with the knowledge that I am capable of overcoming even the darkest of days.